Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to what is an impromptu episode of Gills in the Blood TV, and one that I certainly didn't think I would be doing on the 5th of October 2023, because that will now be the day that Neil Harris was sacked as manager of our football club after 20 months in charge. In that time, he oversaw 90 games, winning 34, drawing 22, losing 34, so very symmetrical. He had a win ratio of 38% in that time, and since 2014, that ratio has only been bettered by one manager, and that was the late Justin Edinburgh, who finished his reign with a win percentage of 39. First of all, please let me apologise if I sound slightly nasally. I am suffering from a cold, so I will try and get through this as quickly as possible and without sneezing all over you. Was it the right call? That has to be the first question. I think in terms of an answer, it was surprising to all of us, whether we were Harris in, Harris out, or somewhere in between on the proverbial fence. We know that there was two fundamental flaws to Neil's time in charge of the football club, and they both, I suppose, have ended up costing him his job. The first was the fact that in 90 games, we averaged under a goal per game throughout the entire reign. I can only recall us scoring 3 times in a game twice. That would be Swindon away, 3-3 draw, and Colchester at home in the Papa John's Trophy. So that was clearly a big issue. One that, despite different systems, different personnel, Neil never got to grips with and never was able to change. I'm not worried about style of football. I think that's a peripheral. You're not in the game to look nice. You're in the game to win football matches, win points, win trophies. If you do it the right way, then that's a bonus. But yeah, goal scoring was always a problem. And I remember when he first took over, in reference to Verdane Oliver, he said, my teams will always create chances and my strikers will always score goals. Well, we never saw enough of it, unfortunately. And the other issue was we only won once in the league, having conceded the first goal. That was against Wimbledon last February. Shea Alexander's goal of the season, ultimately winning the points. Can only recall 2 or 3 other occasions where we did it in any competition. Dagenham at home in the FA Cup replay, Colchester in that league trophy match. So yeah, there were big fundamental holes in his managerial makeup in terms of being with us that I guess ultimately played a part in Brad Gallinson's decision to pull the trigger. On the flip side, we were generally very good defensively throughout his entire reign, even when we were at our darkest. Pre-takeover, the relegation season when he came in, there's very few occasions where we got thrashed, conceded 3 in a game, that type of thing, which probably meant in a weird around way. We ended up overachieving slightly based on our goal output at the other end. But again, it's probably a factor that has ultimately led to his demise. One thing he was very good at was managing from the front. I think we took the lead 33 times. In games that he was in charge of, and we never lost any of them football matches, so that was a big plus. But ultimately, if we want to be a team that's at the top end of the division, I'm guessing Brad and whoever else has played a part in the decision think that we've got to be better from an attacking sense. Like I say, I can't talk for the owners and why, but I'm just trying to give reasons potentially as to how we've got to this point. My next question is it a brave call? And I think it is. Because despite these issues in front of goal, we're still only 4 points off top in League 2 after 11 games. We're still only 2 points off second. We're still only a point off a third, which is automatic promotion places. We're still only outside the playoff zone on goal difference. So the risk when sacking a manager who's got a 58% win ratio at this time of the season, for me would be they've got to be almost flawless. You've got to come in and improve on that win ratio. You've got to come in and improve the goal output, keep defensive solidity, and ultimately win for more football matches than Neil Harris was doing. So I think it's a brave call from the Gallinsons. I think it's a ballsy call. That's where I'm on it at the moment. Of course, I understand that in terms of football in general and certainly surrounding our club that we love and support and go and watch on a regular basis, everyone sees things differently. Everyone wants different things. Some people want us to win games. Some people want to be entertained. Some people want both. That's the beauty of it. And like I say all the time, if we disagree with each other, that's absolutely fine as long as it's done in the right way. But for me, the whole timing seems odd. There's never ever been any inclination from Brad that Neil Harris was under any real pressure in terms of his job being secure. Just reading between the lines, my gut feeling is that perhaps something has happened between Tuesday night's defeat at Crewe and the announcement that we got today, Thursday morning. Looking at social media, I think BBC Radio Kent Sport have tweeted that the players came in as normal at 10:30 for training. Thought they were just going to be going into a meeting about Tuesday's defeat and then going out on the training pitch. Keith Millen seems to have done the same. Neil Harris looks to have done the same, because it's become apparent that Neil told the players in person that he'd been relieved of his duties. But again, I'm only reading between the lines. It's just my personal opinion, my gut feeling. But yeah, in terms of what I meant about timing, is we're 2 days out from a big home game against MK Dons, who are struggling. So it gives us a good opportunity to get back on the horse in terms of winning football matches after the disappointment of the reverse at Crewe. At home, where we've been very good throughout Neil's reign. 51% win ratio overall, even through the darkest periods pre-takeover, like I've already mentioned. It's around about 72, 73%, I think, overall in the calendar year in terms of winning games at Priestfield. And it's around about 70, 71% this season. We've won 3 out of 5 on our own patch, haven't we? We've beaten Accrington, we've beaten Harrogate, we've beaten Morecambe, we've beaten Southampton, we've beaten Leyton Orient in the league trophy. So it's a very high percentage of wins on our own turf. But I suppose if the decision's been made for the reasons that Brad's made them decisions, then it doesn't really matter when you do it. If he was going to be out on his ear, he was going to be out on his ear. But my own personal viewing is that it just seems a strange time to be doing it. However, as the man who is the subject of this video, Neil Harris, has said on plenty of occasions, he is just a custodian of this football club. This football club will be here long after him. It'll be here long after Brad Gallinson. It'll be here long after you, me, and every other football supporter. It will keep going and it will keep evolving. So what we have to do Saturday, first and foremost, is dust ourselves down. If we disagree with the decision, obviously if you're happy with it, then happy days. You probably go to the ground with an extra spring in your step, and we'll look forward to some more free-flowing football, hopefully, which would be great. Obviously, we all want to win football nicely, but we all want to win, ultimately. That's my opinion on it. But yeah, we've got to get behind Keith Millen for as long as he's in charge. We've got to get behind the boys, because win Saturday and we could be back in the top 3 and everything looks rosy with the world again. Keith made a comment in his press conference today and said not a lot needs changing. I think he's spot on. I don't think we was a million miles away from being a very, very good football side, in this division. I think if you look at the last 5 games, shot output's gone up, but we still lack that clinical edge. If Macaulay Bond doesn't miss a chance at Doncaster at 1-1 and we take the lead, I think we win that football match. If Mansfield, the referee, hadn't made that call, maybe we'd have gone on and won that football match. But ifs and buts mean absolutely nothing, unfortunately. And Tuesday was the same story. We missed too many chances and we got punished at the far post with a header, and then we got caught on the break late and we lost the football game. So I'll be there Saturday and I'll be getting behind absolutely everyone who's involved with Gillingham Football Club, because it is our football club. So to the reasons why we got the statement earlier today, and the key line for me was the club has decided it now wants to go in a different direction and will begin the process of identifying a head coach to take the team forward. Manager, head coach, it's all much of a muchness for me. At the end of the day, we want someone who's going to come in and get this team functioning as well as it can and winning as many football matches as well as it can, regardless of what the title of that person is. I saw that Brad tweeted and praised Neil Harris in terms of his abilities as a manager and as a man, first and foremost, and thanked him and said that he'll always be a friend. What I would like is maybe some sort of statement detailing what this new direction potentially will be. And I only ask that because the Gallinsons have been brilliant so far in terms of transparency and giving us clarity on situations. I think that's all we ask for as fans. And also because of the fact that We have sacked a manager, but it's not like we're struggling against relegation where it's a very obvious reason that we've sacked him. We're still in a promotion race. We're still in the playoff hunt, albeit very early in the season. So yeah, I'm not saying they will do, but it would be nice to know what this new direction actually is. As I've already said earlier in the video, I think this is a brave call, and ultimately time will dictate whether it's the right call. Could be a disaster stroke, could be a master stroke. My own personal views right now, sort of 7 hours on from the announcement, is that there's no middle ground at the moment. If our new manager comes in and gets us playing free-flowing football and we start scoring goals freely and winning loads of football match, then happy days. But if he comes in, or she, and struggles in their first few games, then have we set a dangerous precedent? Because, like I've already said, Neil's win percentage this season is 58. That's very good in all competitions. And he's been in charge of a team that over the calendar year has amassed 60 points from 34 league games, which is enough for 81 points over a 46 league campaign. So I think there are risks to the decision, which again comes back to why I'd like a statement to give us more reasons as to why they've got to this point. What's the process to get us to this decision? I'm not asking for, the ins and outs of everything, but just some clarity, like I've already said. For me, it feels very much like a high-risk move, but with potentially a very high reward further down the line, come May, I guess. I think looking at Neil as a football manager overall, in terms of his reign in Kent, I don't think anyone would ever question his dedication, his hard work, his professionalism. I think he did the job with honesty. I think he did it with passion, and I think he did it with a fair amount of integrity, especially during the final parts of 21-22 and the first half of 22-23, where he came in during what was probably one of the club's darkest periods in recent history, essentially signed off a relegation on his CV. We know he got very close to pulling off a miracle, but he didn't quite. He's had to build the club up from the bottom again in terms of football structure, getting in coaches at youth level, getting in directors of the whole youth academy, helping to get a recruitment team together. Andy Hessenthaler, Kenny Jackett. I know that Brad Gallinson has been able to finance us that, which has helped. But Neil's played a huge part in getting the football club to the point where it's at now. And I'd imagine he's highly disappointed that he's not going to get the opportunity to see it through. And I can understand that. He could have taken the easy option and not taken the job. But yeah, I think we have to give him credit for the fact that what he had to work with for the first part of his reign would have made his job very, very difficult. And in terms of Neil Harris, the man, I've met him a few times, Player of the Year, Q&A sessions, and I was ultimately lucky enough to interview him for this very channel. He's very likeable. Again, he's very honest, he's charming, he's funny, he's very different than what we see on the touchline. Of course he is, and what we see on iFollow. He just struck me as a man in July that was very comfortable in himself, was very happy in his work, and was very comfortable in his surroundings. So yeah, I think bottom line is, regardless of the flaws and the style of football, because that is more important for some people than others, I think Neil certainly leaves the football club in a better place than when he arrived 20 months ago. So to the candidates who may replace Neil Harris, that's the big question now on the lips of every Gillingham fan. There's a few names of people out of work that have been bandied about throughout the day. The Cowleys, who have done very well at Lincoln historically, hasn't quite worked out for them in recent seasons, but their pedigree's decent at a lower league level. My only concern there would be that I think their approach is very similar to Neil Harris, which may not appease some of the fan base. I think they're very much back to front very quickly and play off of a target man. Liam Richardson was a name I saw on one of the markets. Interesting one. Done very well under ridiculously tough circumstances at Wigan. Got them promoted out of League One. Would he want to drop to League Two? Who knows? The name that seems to be gathering more momentum is Carl Robinson. There's rumours that he's been seen at a game or something like that. I'm not sure if I've read that correctly. Generally done decent at MK Dons. I think got promoted out of League One into the Championship in 2014-15 with a very good side. I think that included a very young Dele Alli. On the whole, did a really good job at Oxford United up until last season, which led to his demise. I think his most recent job was assistant coach to Sam Allardyce at the back end of the last campaign as they tried to keep Leeds in the Premier League. He's certainly got pedigree at a lower league level and he's got bags of experience. Would he be the more expansive player on the deck type of player that could be the new approach? Potentially. So that's a name I'm sure that will continue to do the rounds until we get an official announcement. Scott Lindsay's doing very well at Crawley, albeit very inexperienced at Football League levels. Only managed about 60 or 70 games, I think. Very locally based though, so geography wouldn't be a problem. Dean Brennan, I think at Barnet's doing a very good job. They're second in the National League. I think they've scored 29 goals in 14 games. So for those that want more free-flowing attacking football, he might be your man. Similarly, Mike Williamson, I think former Newcastle defender at Gateshead, they're fourth, scored 34 goals this season. Geography might be a problem with that one. And finally, he's a man who I think was linked before, Andy Woodman of Bromley. He was certainly linked to the job before Neil Harris came in. I think he turned it down actually. So whether he'd want to come in now, who knows? We're a different club to the last time he was approached. They've scored 20 and conceded 14 in the National League in 14 games. So they're doing all right in front of goal and they're fairly solid at the other end. And they sit fifth. But we don't know which route Brad wants to take. Does he want proven EFL experience? Does he want up-and-coming manager out of non-league? Will he potentially promote internally if Keith Millen comes in and does a decent job for a handful of games? Who knows? I can't see the last one happening, but only Brad can tell us that. Yeah, it's been a funny old day. But one thing that I've already alluded to is that in 35 more league games, we will probably look back on the 5th of October 2023 as potentially a pivotal day in our season. If we're sat here and in 5 months, promotion or in the playoffs, then you say it's the right call. But if the new man or lady comes in and we end up finishing mid-table, then you probably have to say that Neil Harris should have been given more time. But again, it's ifs and buts, and we don't know, do we? And sometimes in life you just have to take a chance and go with your gut instinct, and maybe Brad's done that, I don't know. Like I've said, there's a process that I'm sure everyone's gone through that's got to this decision today. And as I've already said a few times, time will ultimately dictate whether it was the right call. Thanks for watching. As always, I'm going to go and take some flu tablets and some Lemsip. Hopefully we'll be fully fit and fighting for Saturday afternoon's Matchday Live, which is sure to be an interesting afternoon full of opinion and debate. But until then, up the Gills.